In this chapter, I want to show you some very basic drawing techniques. The point is not to become the new Manet and reinvent the painting. What matters is that you learn just enough to capture your thoughts and express your ideas. If you can't draw, that's great. Actually, you may even have an advantage in this. We will start with the most basic shapes. Everything we will do will essentially be built from squares and circles and triangles. If you learn to do these well, you'll be invincible in the world of clear thinking. Let me show you how. Try drawing each shape in one smooth motion. Experiment with rectangles. Try variations in size. It takes a little time to get used to drawing on a screen, so I suggest you fill up at least a whole page or two just to practice. Make sure that you are aware of gaps in your shapes. Our eyes are super sensitive to these gaps. A rectangle with the gaps in the corner is just like 4 lines. Same goes for extra ends that stick out. And a circle with extra ends sticking out is not a circle. Make sure you practice enough to do most of your shapes without gaps. And of course, when it happens, you can just spend a little extra time zooming in and repairing. You may feel that this slows you down, but I think it's often worth the effort. Next step is just learning some slightly more advanced shapes. Primarily block arrows like these and 5-point stars. The arrows are useful when drawing ideas. The 5-point star may be less useful, but is immensely effective when practicing your motor skills for drawing. Let me show you how to do it. Here is a block arrow. Notice how disturbing it is with the little notch in the bottom left corner. I'll let it be for now, but compare it with this, and I think you will see how big a difference such a little thing can make. The point is not neatness, but simply our eye's ability to very quickly decode the composition and understand. Here's how I do a 5-point star. As you can see, I'm not great at it either, but I practice with this shape. Next up are people. In my work, more than half of my illustrations are essentially little people figures like this. I guess it makes sense that almost everything we can do in business somehow involves people and have consequences for people at some point. Starting with stick figures of people helped me remember exactly this. Also, when doing some business model map of an abstract financial service, I asked the client, who is happier with this service? If we can't draw a little stick figure somewhere in the map who has his hands above his head, then what's the point? As you can probably tell, the star person is simply a combination of a circle and a 5-point star. And this other one is a circle and a half circle with a few extra lines. Let me show you how I do it. I start with the circle for the head, and then I do the body starting with the arm to the right. Not too hard, right? Now you can make him wave. Maybe you make a woman, using simple gender stereotypes to your advantage, giving her a dress and a pair of high heels. Simply using the relative size of 2 objects can tell a story. Now this is a family. You can also give the people props. Maybe this guy has a hat that shows how important he is. Adding faces can show emotional expression, but you can also leave it out to avoid distraction when the person's emotional state is not relevant for the situation. Next, after people. Little icons can add visual life to your pages and ideas. Here are 3 simple examples. As you can see, they're pretty much just squares and triangles and circles combined. And even though it might be unclear that the cup contains coffee, as opposed to tea or motor oil, the word below clarifies. If you need inspiration for specific icons, you can always check out thenounproject.com. They have a huge collection of simple icons that you can easily analyze down to basic squares and triangles and draw for yourself. In my experience, the challenge of using icons is not really drawing a cup or a road or a house. The challenge is finding the right icon for the concept. Sometimes it's great to be uber literal. And if you are making a roadmap for your project, why not draw an actual road? Other times you may go the other way and use less conventional associations, using a house to show the feeling of safe, or a mug of coffee for energy, or a road for strategy. This part is hard to teach, but what you can do is you can practice. You can still use the Noun Project website, of course. Let me just show you how I draw. Here's the house again. And this is probably a smartphone. However, with one word, I changed the context, and now it's really an illustration of surveillance. Summing it up, start practicing basic shapes. Close the gaps. Draw some people, and experiment with icons. Sometimes go super literal. Sometimes use icons unconventionally. Instead of an envelope for a message, how about a bottle with a note inside?